that really put Hartwick on the map and made us a power in New York State, the East, and of course nationally. And that catalyst has been felt from that beginning till now. And it led to a career which saw him get elected to 3 college halls of fame, and then at the same time to the U.S. Soccer Hall of Fame in 1995. And he was the first American coach to earn Coach of the Year honors in the Old North American Soccer League with his expansion Alums. Later tonight, Al will receive a letter of commendation for his college and pro career from the United Soccer Coaches Association. And tomorrow, and Stanley Startzel, one of his players, a great 10 player, will be there. Tomorrow he'll have the folks that played in that 1973 team as they celebrate their 50th anniversary for their championship. Ladies and gentlemen, Al Miller.
Thank you, Tom. That's an awful glowing report there, but I want to give you a little history lesson since this is a historic event. I was coaching at a little college in one of the state universities of New York called New Paltz State University. And when I went there, the athletic director who hired me said, maybe there's something I should show you. The day he hired me, and he took me in his office and he showed me the record of the team. And they had a program for 2 years. They had never won a game, and the scores were something like 8-0, 8-0, 8-0 against them. And 5 years later, that team won the national championship. Wow. So it was a great ride I had there. And so the athletic director, who was one of those old-time athletic directors that played football, the other football, called me in his office, and I'm thinking I'm going to get this gigantic raise. I couldn't wait to get in there to meet that appointment. And he said, sit down, I have something I want to talk to you about. I think you better slow down here. I don't want people talking about us. They might think we're doing things illegal the way you're building this program. And instead of getting a raise, I got a different kind of feeling when I walked out of that office. And from that moment, I said, I got to get out of here. Over the summer, I read in the New York Times, early morning, that David Hawes had left Hartwick College and was going to Atlanta Chiefs to be their community relations director. So this is at 7:15 in the morning. I picked up the phone and called Hartwick College and asked for the athletic department. And believe it or not, the new athletic director, who I knew quite well from fame of baseball, who had won the MVP of the National League in 1950 with the Philadelphia Phillies right here in his town, was Jim Constanti. And he answered the phone and I said, hi, my name's Al Miller. Heard about Dave Hawes. I'd like to throw my name in the hat for your job. I'd like to come and talk to you about it. He said, Al, thanks for calling. We got a lot of great candidates, and hung up the phone on me. And you know, when you're a recruiter and building a program, you never take the first no. You always get 2 or 3 more. So I decided, well, I'll call him back, but I had an 8 o'clock class. So I went in and taught the class, and I go back to my office, and the phone rings. It's about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And the phone rings, and it's Jim Constanti. And he said, hey, Al, is there any chance you could come up and meet with me tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock? And I'm thinking, like, what the hell happened between my 7:15 call and my 1 o'clock call? Well, if you believe in serendipity, Jim had this little favorite restaurant, I think it was Mama's, in Oneonta, that he would go to for lunch every day. And who comes and sits in next to him but Hal Chase, who is the athletic director at Oneonta State. And Jim leans over and said, hey, you ever hear of a guy by the name of Al Miller? And Hal Chase must have said some really nice things about me. And Jim told me later that one of the things he said is, you'd better hire him now if you got a chance. And so therefore I got the call. So it was serendipity that I got to Hartwick. Went up the next morning at 8 o'clock. And we had a wonderful talk. I loved the guy immediately because I knew he was big time all the way. And I thought I could learn a lot from him. I thought it was my calling, really. And I said to Jim, I said, I don't want to be just your soccer coach. I said, I want to be a PR director, promotions director, marketing director. I want to build this program into something sensational. I don't want to just be your soccer coach. And he said, you are talking my language. So he said, we got to go meet the president, but we can't meet him until 6 this evening. So Jim toured me of Oneonta, which didn't take very long. We went to lunch at that famous restaurant of his where the good news happened. And so we go to Fred Binder, the president's house. Now Fred Binder was a naval PT boat commander. And he was all about Navy, and he was a tough, hard guy. And he had those steely eyes. And he's sitting behind his desk, and his wife escorted Jim and I in, and he said, sit down. And he had a beer in front of him and a steak. And he's chomping on his steak, and Jim's telling him all these nice things about Al Miller. And I said, Fred, I think this is a guy we should hire. And he said, Miller, come over here. And stand right there in front of my desk. And he looks at me and he says, I don't give a damn about any of that other crap that Constanti told me about you. Can you beat Army? And I go, hell yes. And he said, you're my coach. That's how I got started at Hartwick. And now comes the first faculty meeting before the students arrive. And we had a long list of new faculty members coming in. And I'm waiting for when we get to the M's and he's going to introduce my name. And I want to stand up and wave to everybody. And he goes past the M's, misses me. And I'm thinking, damn guy forgot about me already. So we get down to there was one guy had a Z in the front of his name. And then when he finished, he said, I've saved the best for last. Al Miller, come on up here on the stage with me. And I get up there, and here's what he does. He puts his arm around me and he says, I want to tell you 2 things. This guy promised me that he would beat Army. And secondly, he told me he would make this a major sport on Hartwick campus. I'm happy to tell you that we were undefeated going into the Army game. And the big news on the Hartwick campus back there, and that was in 1967, the big news was that a general, a 4-star general, actually flew in a helicopter and landed in a parking lot up by Elting Gym. And the cadets paraded in, and we had to get some seating for them. And this is a big deal for the Hartwick people, and particularly for President Binder. And so the players, I told the players, this is freaking one game we cannot lose. Believe me, I have some special reasons which I'll share with you at halftime if you play bad. And so we're going out to the field. You know, you go out to the locker room, and there's this little pathway. We surrounded the field with a fence. First time we ever charged admission. And Jim Constanti's got his station wagon parked right by the entrance to the field. And he rolls his window down and he goes, hey Miller, come over here. And he said, here's the deal. This baby's filled with gas in case we lose or you and I are out. So that's the history of Al Miller at Hartwick. I had so many memorable moments. I get emotional thinking about it. And there's some of you here tonight. Timo was one of my great players. The photographer out here was one of my players. Eddie Austin over here, one of my real great players. We had something really super going on. And I would tell the coaches who are there today, or any young coach when I talk to them, I tell them the following. I'm going to read this because I'm 86 now, so my memory's not quite as good as it used to be at Hartwick. First of all, if you want to have a great program, you must find a way to get the student body invested. I started a program where when the freshmen had their orientation, part of their orientation program, Binder allowed me to do this. He insisted on it. They had to come up to the soccer field, and we did our dog and pony show with juggling and dribbling and all that stuff, and I made the players sound like they were Pelés. The second thing is the program has to get the community involved. Terry Fisher's here tonight. Terry Fisher was a freshman along with Timo, and Terry had just raised a bunch of money as a high school student to go to Europe on one of those European, whatever they're called, money-making programs. But he said to me, hey, after the season, he said, hey coach, I think I could arrange it. You want to take Hartwick to Europe? I go, oh my God, let's do it. But then the bad news came, we had to raise $21,380. We did it with our student body. We called it dial-a-job. I had all the students, we had a phone bank, and the town could call in and order any job they wanted. We'd send a soccer player or a student out to do the job. Ricardo Concha, who later became the ambassador from Chile, he got called up and he went down and his job was to wash a dog. And the woman gave him 50 cents. And he came back and he said, Coach, I'm never going to do this again. And just then, one of the female students walked in and she said, I just ironed this woman, this little lady's clothing, and she gave me $150. That's how it all happened. So we go to Europe. Constanti came up with the idea, we'll take the sports editor along. He wrote these fantastic human interest stories about the players and our travels through 7 countries. And the rest is history. The community became involved. And then God took care of the third part. We had a game against Cornell, at Cornell, on AstroTurf. First time we've ever played on AstroTurf. And we lost 1-0. And Bruce Arena was the goalkeeper for Cornell. And Dan Wood, who later became a great friend of mine and played on the senior golf tour, was the coach. And so we came back, we were devastated because we had this great season going. And lo and behold, we get the #1 seed for the New York playoffs, the NCAA playoffs. And who did we play in the first round? You got it, Cornell. And we got 28 inches of snow. Now you can see Elmore Field with 28 inches of snow. Constanti and I got in at daybreak, and we took a couple of snow shovels out, and we tried to see what it would be like to shovel the snow. We're shoveling, and the maintenance guy came out with a snow blower, but the snow was so wet that it clogged up the snow blower, and he said, you're never going to get this damn field cleared. And just then Al Sayers, who was the GM of the radio station and was our play-by-play announcer, came up and he said, what are you going to do, Coach? And I said, we're going to clear that damn field. I said, you get your butt down there and get on that radio station and start telling the guys from Oneonta to get their butts up with their shovels. We're going to shovel that damn thing off. And would you believe it? It was like a stream of people showing up, shoveling snow, snow blowers, trucks, front end loaders, and the women came up in the evening with hot soup and coffee, and it was an emotional moment, and it was a snow day, and Hartwick and Oneonta were unified forever. So sometimes you get lucky. God did his part with the snow. We did our part with the shovels. And I want to tell you that I'm so happy that I had the opportunity to represent all these great coaches that have worked at Hartwick and all the great players that made the history. And I believe that Hartwick now has a president who recognizes sport has value to the campus. And I want to wish him nothing but success. And I'm going to challenge him. I have that right at 86 years old. I'm going to challenge him for him to make his piece of history at Hartwick like Hartwick Soccer did. Thank you for listening.